What's up, everybody? We just got a 3 episode premiere for Gen V, The Boys spin-off, and there's a ton to talk about. This will be a breakdown of all 3 episodes, so if you've only seen like the first one or the first two, I have individual breakdowns for each episode up on my channel. No matter which way you watch, I'll have spoilers in my video, so if you haven't seen any of the episodes, come on back to this or the individual videos once you see them, and have a great day. Now let's get into episode 1. I really like this first episode. It wastes absolutely no time getting wild, and I think if you like The Boys, you'll love this show, and if you hated The Boys, you'll hate this show even more. There's not a ton of cross reference between The Boys and Gen V in this first episode. There's some stuff at the beginning, but that's not really a bad thing because it spends its time introducing us to these characters in the show who are students at Good Old U. That university is a mess, by the way, and I wouldn't expect any less from a show like this in this universe, and it absolutely did not disappoint, at least to me, with great characters and actors, good comedy, and all-time weirdness. So let's get into all the specifics. Let's start going over the characters, or at least the big ones, in this episode. You have the lead of the show, Marie, who is the one with the power to control blood, kind of like the Avatar Bloodbender. Her backstory is pretty up is she didn't get her powers until puberty and her first, yeah, that female thing, and then she killed her parents because she couldn't control her powers. That was a flashback towards the beginning of the episode as we jump forward where she gets accepted into good old U with aspirations of becoming the first female uh, African American in the Seven. Once she's there, she finds out that she didn't even get into the crime fighting school, and she's livid about that. Then she finds out it wasn't even the professor's decision, it was his teacher's assistant who denied her, which pisses her off even more. But as fate has it, she's out partying with them later as she decides to accept an invite from Andre to party with the cool kids. Which, speaking of fate, that night out goes terribly wrong. Marie has to save a lady's life after she's injured, and instead of being praised for it, she's expelled to cover the cool kids' asses. The top dog of the cool kids and Good Olkin is Golden Boy, whose name is Luke. He's very much like the Homelander of this show, which is cool, but it might be too much for him to handle. He's set to be the next member of the Seven, and his suit that's currently being made costs 8 figures, which is wild to me, but I also love the fact that they even include this in the show. It's a very rare thing that's acknowledged ever in these superhero stuff, but I think it's great for this universe, and I'm glad that they did it. Throughout the episode, he's having flashes of his brother Sam, who, to his knowledge, committed suicide 3 years ago, but that's not really the case. They drive him over the edge, the flashes that is when he learns he's alive and being kept in the woods underneath the university. He's led to killing Brink, the crime professor, and then blowing himself up after that. Then there's Andre, who has telekinesis, I believe. Their powers are kind of left vague, other than a few that is, but it's beside the point. He's Luke's best friend and is the one who both invites Marie out and slices the lady's throat at the bar trying to impress a girl. He's kind of floating in the background this episode, but he has a very emotional scene with Luke before his death that propels us into the conflict for the rest of the season. And finally, Emma, who is Marie's roommate, she has shrinking powers but has to achieve it unconventionally as she has to purge to shrink and eat to grow. It's a wild take on the power, and she puts it to weird use as she gets naughty with a guy, and he's got quite the request for her. He asks, and she obliges, that she shrink down and hang off his schlong, which was the weirdest shit I've ever seen, but it was hilarious. But those characters aren't as great without the actors who bring them to life, so I want to acknowledge my top 3 performances from episode 1. I thought Jazz Sinclair rose to the occasion helming this show. I was not personally familiar with her going into this, but she made a phenomenal impression on me, and I can't wait to get the rest of Marie's story. Then Clancy Brown, who unfortunately won't be in the rest of this show because he got incinerated, was fantastic too. He's always a joy to have in any project, as I just said in my Dumb Money review, and does not disappoint in this show. And finally, another one who won't be around anymore, Patrick Schwarzenegger. I've been rooting for him to land a franchise role for a while. Glad he did in this one, but I specifically want him in the DCU as Nightwing, and this show just reinforced my hope for that because he delivers an incredible performance as Golden Boy in this episode, and I hope we get some more flashbacks so he gets more screen time. So that'll do it for my episode 1 breakdown. Let's get right into episode 2. I thought this was the weakest episode of the 3, but it served its purpose as the bridge episode that took us from the shock of the first episode into the steaming pile of knee-deep shit of the third episode. We got a cameo from Ashley from The Boys, who either got that Brian Urlacher hair growth drug or she's rocking that wig. But anyway, she's just there talking about how the hell they're gonna clean up the Golden Boy mess, which is always great watching her spaz out about PR. As I said, it's kind of like a bridge episode as the characters deal with Luke's death in their own ways, and Andre starts getting too close to the truth that drove Luke over the edge. There's a ton of tension in this episode, some of the evil intent, but some from the heart, so let's get into what's going on. We've got more characters to talk about. I covered 4 in my episode 1 breakdown, and there's 3 more we've got to talk about now because they were more prominent in this episode. The first being the Dean of Godolkin, Indira. She's in charge of handling the whole professor and student dead situation. Yikes. And I really enjoyed this stuff. She kind of starts to take Marie under her wing too this episode, which will surely explode into a major conflict later in the season as Marie discovers her lies. Then there's Kate with a C, who was Luke's girlfriend. She's obviously devastated this episode, but when Andre brings up what Luke said to her, said to him right before he died, they start looking into such things and might be getting to know a little too much. Her and Andre are getting pretty close too during this, which maybe it's just two friends grieving over someone they loved, but we'll see. And finally, Jordan, who is very interesting. First off, she's livid that Andre and Marie, and then really just Marie, are getting the credit for taking down Golden Boy when it was really her who fought him and got her ass kicked before he blew himself up. But what makes her so interesting are her powers. She has the ability to flip genders, amongst other things, but this is like the interesting one. Which is one of the wildest abilities I've ever seen in a superhero show or movie. Besides her wacky powers, though, she has a rough episode being pissed about not getting credit, and then on top of that, or maybe even as a result of that, being ranked 5th in Godolkin's, power rankings, I guess. Now, with those characters added to our list, let's hit my top 3 performances of the episode before moving on. First being Jazz Sinclair. Once again, I get the feeling she's going to be on this list week after week, and I can't believe I didn't know about her before this show. I hate myself for it. Then Chant Perdomo was really good too. He just missed my episode 1 list, but he stepped up with the absence of a couple other characters and was a great part of episode 2. And finally, Maddie Phillips, who is part of an electric duo with Chance Perdomo, as Andre and Kate handle the loss of Luke, as well as maybe their intimate feelings. Rounding up some other things really quick though from the episode, the power rankings came out, and Andre is number 1 now. As I said, Jordan is number 5. She's pissed, and Marie is 8, becoming the first freshman to ever make the rankings. Her roommate Emma has her secret exposed by Justine, I believe was her name, as the whole campus finds out that she has to purge to shrink down and use her power, which I thought was a really compelling storyline because only she knows the truth and everyone else thinks it's like something else. Maybe that's not worded the best. Like the chick who exposes her kind of lies and said it's like an eating disorder and like it's because of the female image, but really it's just how she uses her powers. I just found it really compelling. And then Andre finds the entrance to the woods, and this is what I was talking about with him and Kate getting to know too much because she comes in and saves him after he's discovered down there. And now let's finish it off with episode 3. This was the strongest episode, no doubt about it, from the premiere, as episode 1 introduced us to these great characters, episode 2 showed them at their worst, and episode 3 found them knee deep in the pile of shit that is the conflict of the show. There's a big event to honor Professor Brink, and all the parents are in town, which you'd think would be the toughest for Marie, but some of these parents are legit pieces of shit, which shouldn't surprise me, I guess. These are the same parents who injected their small children with Compound V, but we actually do find out that Marie and Kate aren't so different, as they both scared their families so much with their powers that neither of them are around much anymore. We get some really good conflict between Andre and his dad as Andre finds out his dad knew about the woods, and oh boy, Andre might be more than knee deep, he might be nipple deep in the shit pile now. Emma's mom is trying to use her for fame after her secret was exposed to get her a reality TV show, using the lies Justine was spreading, which in my opinion, up you, mom. There's some really good interactions between Emma and Sam though this episode as she messes with him. Then the two start really connecting actually before she crawls into a security guard's head and kills him to end the episode, which is a perfect ending for an episode in a show like this. Oh, and earlier in the episode, Andre and Kate get a little ow chicka wow wow going on, which was wild. And the only new character I want to talk about is Sam, Golden Boy's brother, who's being set up to be a major character going forward, but I'm not sure if he'll end up being a true villain or if he'll be able to side with the heroes. There's some stuff in the trailers that's like, ooh, that's a villain, but I'm not convinced. We'll have to see. Anyway, Golden Boy was very much like the Homelander, but I think it might actually be Sam who's like the Homelander of the show. Emma lies to him after she gets into his cell, telling him it was actually his brother who sent her to do some recon so they can get him out. That's going to go one of two ways, in my opinion, because he's dead. Either he'll be able to understand they just wanted what's best for him and to get him out, or he'll go on his Homelander arc and go nuts, and the Guardians of Godolkin, which has too many syllables, will have to take him down in the end of the season. Then finally, I just want to hit my top 3 performances from episode 3 really quick. First being once again Jess Sinclair, who, as I said, will likely be here every episode week after week, as she's been truly amazing so far, and she had some really good emotional scenes in this episode and delivered on them. Then another returning member of the list, Chance Perdomo, who had to portray Andre being knee deep in shit, as I said, and did a really good job with both the craziness and all the tension stuff, as well as some of his more emotional scenes, just like Jazz. And finally, Lizzie Broadway was phenomenal as Emma got a bigger role in this episode, and Lizzie stepped up to the table, delivering a stellar performance. Overall, I thought this was a really solid premiere for the show, and it has a ton of promise. The gore, the comedy, the acting, and the story are awesome, and I'm totally invested waiting for next week and the rest of the show. As always, though, I want to know what you guys thought about the premiere, so let me know down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.